we've been looking at healthcare across the board, and from several different alternatives. These catchwords like Medicaid expansion and all this other kind of stuff, they really thwart the argument to me. What we've got is we have a population that's underserved for healthcare. We have a strong rural population that needs to make sure that they're within 30 minutes of an emergency room and that can get primary care. So there's a whole set of solutions that go with this. Some involve like wellness. Like in Tallahatchie County, when I was up in Charleston, they have a tremendous wellness program built right next door to the hospital. It's become a central area for their population. Is small, very small town, 3,000 people. Their population goes there, the police do, the sheriff's office does, all these other, the ministers do, and they actually take people and go through their diet and show them how to cook. And part of their wellness center has stoves in it. And so then on Mondays they send them what they're supposed to eat, and they've actually taken people off diabetic treatment. So there's a lot more to this than just say, okay, what are we going to do about some kind of healthcare coverage? It involves not only wellness, it involves the locations to make sure. We have 31 hospitals that are rural hospitals that are at risk of failure. Now, those 31 hospitals, a lot of them, I think 19 of them, have joined in with other hospitals to provide care. Either UMC, Mississippi Medical Center, Forest General, Gulfport Memorial. You see a number of them that are already getting under the umbrella or wing of a larger hospital to continue to provide services. So we need to supplement that by making sure that none of them are at risk of failure when they can't serve the local population. Now, some of them may have found a good new home, and some of them may need help to make it. Then you come to the part about how are we going to cover the unserved? How many people don't have coverage in Mississippi? I think under the prior administration, there's like 60 or 70,000 people that signed up for health care coverage, still leaving us without health care coverage. Now, there's a great deal of uncompensated care that goes with our hospitals. You talk to them, and we actually had a program where we provided $200 million a year to cover hospitals' uncompensated care. Obviously, if they were insured or in some other vehicle, there wouldn't be as much uncompensated care. And also, obviously, we took better care of ourselves. So we need to quit supersizing it, and that needs to be part of the thing as well. We have met, or I have, with Arkansas, with their lieutenant governor, with the gentleman that wrote their bill in Arkansas, the gentleman that's running it now. What did you do right? What did you do wrong? What are things that we could do? Mississippi Hospital Association come forward with a plan to cover some of the gap cost in possibly moving to expanding our health care coverage kind of thing. And several other alternatives have arisen as we've gone through this. It's a $6 billion business, and we don't need to make a knee-jerk decision based off some acronym. I'm not going to do that. So what you'll see us do, I think, is explore the Indiana, the Texas model. They've got some things waived, and also listening to the judicial problems. I believe you ought to have a work requirement for this, or a community service requirement. If you're healthy and we're giving you some kind of coverage, then you ought to be helping us run the city or working somewhere or getting a job or getting a skill set. That's been challenged in Arkansas, and they've come back and said, well, that's unconstitutional. So I've got to wait until that one is away, because I like that part of the provision that Arkansas had. We also see other issues, like it's been challenged in Texas, where there's constitutional law to even have Affordable Care Act. So that's going to the Fifth Circuit here in the next month or two, and so we'll find out if it's constitutional at all. So, but while they're going through these legal ramifications of what the coverage could be, we need to emphasize the fact that we've got people who need health care, we got rural health care we need to take care of, we got people who need better wellness. That's why I keep emphasizing it. You'll see, in addition to maybe a hospital having a primary care, I want to take care of you before you get sick. Wellness in Mississippi begins when you wake up, not when you have to rush to the emergency room for some issue. So I think you'll see us exploring coverage issues, wellness issues. I think you'll see us exploring other states and how they've done it. I think the current administration is big on making deals. and they allow waivers for certain things. So I think we may be able to come up with something that would be palatable to all the sides. And we intend to work on that immediately after the election. I've already started, actually. And you know, that's another one where they said, well, we got bad roads and bridges. Well, in Jackson, we have bad roads. You know, I get on them every day coming to work. So people say, we got to fix all the roads and bridges. So I started looking at this. You know, where are our roads and bridges at? Let's first find out what the problem is, you know. So we did. We had like 425 bridges out. 4 of them were on state roads. So where does the money need to go? It needs to go just because we may have trouble on some local in-town city street. Most of the money ought to go to the counties, and it ought to be to fix county roads. The state roads, while we're doing maintenance and whatnot, we have some money, I think, for extending. For example, Florence to Pearl. Now, that 7 miles cost the state $150 million, and that was a low bid. I didn't even know what the high bid was. So it's very expensive to do these. But to me, we needed to help the counties. So what I will propose next year, which you'll see coming out of the Senate, I think, is local options for a use tax from 2 to 6 cents. And so what do I want to do? Instead of taxing the whole population 12, 18 cents, having the money come back to Jackson, it gets sieved away with fees and engineer fees and expenses in Jackson and everything. Jackson doesn't run everything. Mississippi's not running the capital, it's running the counties. So every penny that an individual county decides they want to tax will have a specific road and bridge they're going to fix, and that every penny of that dollar will go to that road and bridge. And then when that's over, it sunsets, it goes away. So if you want to fix another bridge, you'll have another vote. So what you'll see, I think, is our supervisors saying, look, we need to do these 3 or 4 things, and that'll come from the population. Their people will say, we've got to fix this one because it takes too long to get my corn and cotton to the market. So I think you'll see that come. I think you'll see very specific things. People don't mind paying for things when they can see them actually done, and when they're not, the money's not spewed through Jackson and comes back 50 cents on the dollar. You know, I'm not going to do that. I think Mississippi's running the counties. I think we ought to support the counties. So you'll see that coming out of us. You'll also see significant, I met with MDOT, you'll see significant reviews, I think, of how we're operating on the money that we've got, which is about $1 billion a year, actually. But once we get through that, then I think our state roads will be fine. The issues are in the counties, and that's where the money needs to go. We have a couple of ways. First of all, teachers are underpaid, but equally as important, they're under-respected. Now, today I was in Florence with the 4th grade, talking to them about government, the 3 branches of government, how critical that all the 3 branches rest on the ballot box, how critical it was to go vote. Bright young children. I guess there must have been 100 of them there. You know, they ask great questions that get you fired up about working in the public life. But when you talk to those teachers after the meeting, what do you need? Well, they need more compensation. I intend to raise their pay every year, and not just the last year. Well, what else? You know, how are you doing? What's going on? We're down about 1/3 in applications for teachers. Why are they doing that? You know, why aren't more people applying for that? You know, some of them may start at 36 or 37, but some of them make $45, $50, $55,000 plus a very healthy retirement. Why aren't people going into that? You know, because the actual respect for what they do every day is not what it used to be. When I did something wrong when I was growing up, if I went home with a note from my teacher, it was my problem. And my mom and dad want to know why I messed up. Today, that happens and they start looking, why did the teacher mess up? You know, our teachers are undercompensated, overqualified to do what they do. They're dedicated. You know, you go down the whole list. They take the future of Mississippi in their hands every single day. So, yeah, we'll raise teacher salaries every day, but you'll see me talking to people about the respect that we need to give teachers back. And the way we do that, I want businesses and people to be involved in the school system. You'll see dual credit courses and career technical coming. You'll see me talking to businesses. You need to take a child and shadow them You need to come to school and tell them what a plumber does, what an electrician does, what a welder does. Come there and tell them what your job is. I work on the line. I build cars at Nissan. Whatever. Tell those young people. And you know what you're going to find? Bright, very bright students, but you're going to find the teachers are the ones that are teaching them that. So that relationship where you put a face with that teacher that's working there every day, at least 8 hours, and most of them more than that, when the people start respecting that profession, it'll be easier to get it back up to the level it needs to be. So yeah, we're going to raise teachers' salary. That's kind of an easy answer. But a more difficult one is to make sure that our people, our population that are sending our children to public school, go visit those schools. Go participate. I want you in the PTA. I want your business to hire one for the summer. I want you to come talk about how you do your work. All of those things. You'll hear us talking about just do one thing. Now that was not unique to me. Robert St. John came up with it for his common table. And it is a great thing for us to be doing. So when I go talk to businesses and families, I'm going to talk about just do one thing. Go help that school. Go be the mom that takes them to the zoo. Go be the dad that takes them to do this. Whatever your business needs to hire somebody, talk about going there. So you'll see, I think, a strong push, not just on the compensation, but on the way we look at our professional teachers. We're gonna first one is going to be to fund pre-K. I know that, a lot of people look at, where I'm going to be in 4 years or whatever. I look at where we're going to be in 2030. That's what I'm thinking about. I've got 7 grandchildren. Where are they going to work? Who are they going to work for? Who are they going to work with? How do we position these young men and women? Now, when we start them in the pre-K, that means they come to school more educated. We've got 9,000 children that are not even in pre-K. And about 12,000 are in Head Start. So, and then the rest of them are in some kind of church-affiliated or other thing. So we need all our kids to start with the basic knowledge so they can come into school not being behind, but being on the same page. It helps the teachers. It keeps that kid from falling behind then, and the next thing you know, we don't get to the 3rd grade reading gate or something. So I think that's really the thing. The first thing is pre-K. Second thing would be the teacher pay raise. It'll be done early on in the session. And then something that I think we have neglected in Mississippi, which we haven't funded our special education. First of all, it's a federal law. Those children are entitled to the same educational capabilities that you had and I had. So it's a federal law. But to me, more important, it's a moral obligation. These kids can work. I was at Baptist Hospital the other day. They've hired 10 autistic children. 10. And they're working all through the hospital. The hospital has brightened itself up. Each one of them are so excited to have those kids there. They love, one of them's in charge of working in corporate compliance. That's awesome, And so far as hiring their 100th autistic child, then you know what's happened? The lowest turnover is an autistic child. They're not having high turnovers. The lowest injured on the job, autistic children. 2 of them just got promoted to supervisor. So we've neglected this part. And those kids need to have that same opportunity. They need to join the workforce, be taxpayers, vote. So you'll see that's the 3rd thing. But those will all happen the first year. I absolutely do. I'm sure they'll agree with me every time. People will select the governor, and they have a different criteria than they do the lieutenant governor. I trust the voters. Obviously I'm a Republican, so. If the voters send somebody else, then we'll work with them. And our personal preferences would be our party. Everybody go vote. I was in. They invited me. I went to Afghanistan and Iraq, about 8 years ago, and visited with the servicemen and women about casting their ballot. And then I ended up in the hospital in Germany, visited with soldiers who had been wounded, some as recently as 24 hours before they were there. Very moving. If you went to that hospital and talked to those kids, they look like kids to me, you wouldn't miss a vote. I was back this year in Kuwait. Our kids, our young men and women, they were in Syria and Yemen and all over. um, and they're protecting your right to vote. So how are you going to tell them that's not important? So everybody needs to go vote.